everyone. Today is a little different because I'm going to unbox a polystyrene model by Airfix. As you can see, it's the BAC TSR2, that's British Aircraft Corporation TSR2, which was an aircraft that was developed experimentally from about November 1956, from General Operation Requirement 339. So the requirement was, at that point, extremely ambitious. They were looking for an all-weather aircraft with a nuclear capability, could operate over long range at Mach 2 plus, so about 1500 miles an hour at high level, or at low level at Mach 1.2, so about 800 and some odd miles an hour, and as I said, delivering nuclear weapons over that range. It should be able to operate on a short takeoff and landing basis. The original requirement said it might have perhaps have to have a vertical takeoff and landing performance. That was dispensed with, obviously, and it was also designed as well to be taking off from short, unprepared airfields, so a rough field undercarriage there. So as you can see, for 1956 to 1960, an exceedingly capable aircraft that would have pushed the then technology fairly much to the limit. There were two built. There were two, I think, others on the production line at the time that the project was cancelled in the mid-60s. So my target here is to build this model. This is 1/48th scale. I gather that the model itself is not available any longer, and I've acquired this through a friendly local internet to me, and some extras as well, which I'll show you at the same time as I unbox this, so we can get to take a look at the overall kit itself. Given that this is probably 10 years old and has sat in someone's back room for 10 years or so, it's in surprisingly good condition. As you can see, the box itself is a little bit folded, it's a little bit crushed, but is in pretty good order, really. It says in the corner limited edition, but I didn't think it was a limited edition. I can be corrected on that, and anybody is free to do so. So let's put that away to one side. And as usual, first thing you'll see is the instructions. They're pretty detailed. The usual preamble there with all the information pertaining to the aircraft, and instructions in several languages. As you can see, we start with the figure, the ejection seats, and the cockpit, what they call the cockpit tub. I gather that the detail isn't particularly good on that, but we'll examine that later on. And then we move from there on to the fuselage halves, and when you see the model being unboxed, you'll see just exactly how large this aircraft is going to be. You'll note that there'll be some options for XR220 or XR222. 220, this particular piece here, is for a camera to look at various aspects of the operation of the ducting and so on and so forth, I believe. So we move on here. The detail inside the wheel wells and so on is pretty good, I gather. There is an upgrade that's available through resin that you can use if you manage to acquire one of these models, which further details this. That, I gather, requires some additional work to do. There's an option to have a bomb. I won't be using that because this I will attempt to match the first aircraft, XR220, which resides in RAF Cosford at this stage, which was the only one to in fact have flown. So I shall use empty containers there. So as you can see, moving ahead, you get as far as step 15 when you're putting the whole thing together. There'll be some pre-painting required there, of course. Then we move to the wings and the jet pipes. I've got some upgrades for that as well. And then tail planes, rudders, elevators, and so on and so forth. And then undercarriage. Undercarriage is really quite unusual with this, in the sense that the two wheels, the bogey wheels on the rear undercarriage, or the tricycle undercarriage, fold up and in, rather after this fashion. They'll fold up and then slide in from there. It's not a particularly good demonstration, but maybe it gets the point across. Have a look at the films on YouTube and you'll see exactly what I mean by this. We then move to undercarriage and the final assembly of the fuselage there, and the final bits and pieces. You can elect to have air brakes open or closed. In the Cosford example, the air brakes are open. I've not yet decided exactly what I'll do with that, and we'll take it from there. And then final steps will be painting and decals. So that moves us on to the decals here. So I have heard it said that the decals are faded. That's not the case. The decals themselves are designed for the anti-flash white variant of the aircraft, which was the only variant that really flew, and are faded by design. So as you can see, fairly detailed. And these have held up really well. The kit itself, as I say, despite the fact it's been stored for some period, is in exceptionally good condition. You can see the backing paper here, and that's still actually attached to the decal sheet itself. So that's quite impressive, I would have to say. So first things to see here is the fuselage halves, and you can see how large that is. 1, 2, nearly 3 spans. That gives you an idea of exactly the size of that. The sprues themselves, the sprue trees are really very thick, so one has to be careful removing the fuselage halves from the sprue trees. Use a pair of cutters there, good quality cutters. The surface detail is really pretty good. I'm going to take it that for a 1/48th scale model that these surface details like these panel lines here are going to be true to scale. These look deeper, for example, than these here. You can't see them through the bag. I'm not going to take this stuff out of the bags just at this stage. So I'm going to take that that's the case, and I shall detail those panel lines in at a later stage. The remains of the model is, again, still in its bag. The bag's not been opened in all of these years, and you can see all of the other details of the screws here. So what we might do here is just open this up quickly. This isn't the best way of doing it, I know, and people will be telling me off on the internet there, so I'm perfectly aware of that, so thank you very much. I should have used a knife or a pair of scissors. So first sections out are the main wing sections, and again you can see the size of the sprue trees, and this gives you an idea of the scale of the aircraft. It's quite long, quite wide. We'll just put that away. So we have figures here, you can see up in this corner. I hope you can see that okay. So it gives you an idea of 1/48th scale. We can see the cockpit sections here. Not particularly detailed, it's fair to say. Again, seats are not particularly detailed. Again, it's fair to say. There's no seat belts or anything like that. So some work to be done there. Seat sides are not too bad, I would say, but I think the resin upgrade would significantly enhance the detail there. And moving along, here we have the air intake sections, rear tailpipe section cover, and that's the bomb there that they were talking, that you can see there. Tailpipe sections there. I may very well replace those. And finally, well, not quite finally actually, is the original wheels. Oh, see, that's just come away. That's the one of the sections. That's the undercarriage section there. That's just fallen away there. Not bad actually for 10 years in a box. I think that's pretty good. And so you can see the undercarriage wheels. The main bogies where my thumb is, and then the front wheels there. I will use resin upgrades, I'll show you for why, and I will use different undercarriage oleo legs here because the model itself is quite large and quite weighty. I think polystyrene oleo legs will simply splay out and cause the model to look unsightly after a very short period of time. Final undercarriage lower there, which includes the avionics section there, and put that away there. The last section, again, this comes in a little bag of its own, so these should be undamaged. You've got the cockpit sections, front and rear. So the rear cockpit section was in fact solid rather than having glass all over it. You can see the see-through sections are here. You can see those, but again they're in their own separate bag, which is great, which means they won't be damaged. We'll put that away and put that back in the box in a minute. So I've got some resin upgrades as well. So the first thing there is the tailpipes, which add significant levels of detail to what we're going to use there. So and also the TSR2 wheels and main bogies and front wheels. Interesting that these contain photo etched parts as well. I think there are some masks in here too, so that one can mask off the wheels and get a really good finish. As ever, a flexible mask for the cockpit, so that when one's spray painting, then one can get the best finish possible. And in here, I'm going to try and pull this out whilst looking at the camera. First thing is, there are several cockpit sections that one can employ and deploy when one's put the resin products in. And there's a bunch of different products in here. So let's quickly take a look at these. And you can see, I don't know if you can see them there. I'm going to try and decant them into my hand. So what we have here is the seat. Again, much more detailed, as you can see. It's the tub arrangement. You can see much more detail. So this is going to take a lot of trouble out of actually the first part of the build there. That's resin. So now you have to be careful when cutting resin because it gives off dust that's toxic. That's part of the rear section of, I suspect, the lifting canopy, the solid section. These will probably be some cockpit sidewalls here, I would suggest. I've not looked at the instructions on this, and you can see there that's the rear cockpit section as well, and see that's those sections here that I'm pointing out need to be cut out. So that's the first set of things. I'm just going to put them down there. The other thing that you get is some other oddments here. Not quite sure what these are, so I must appear ignorant for a period. But the other thing I thought was rather good in here, and I'm not quite sure where it is at this moment in time, is a photo etched part. So there are photo etched cockpit details. I don't know if you can see that, but the photo etch will add considerably to the look of the inside of the cockpit. So it's very tempting to leave the cockpit canopies open so that these can be seen. Obviously, as you will know, with the cockpit side, the glass sections of the cockpit had an anti-flash covering on them, which actually was gold, would you believe? So I'm going to simulate that with a matte smoke colour sprayed onto the inside of the cockpit. So I may have to keep the cockpit open. And last, but by no means first, is the moulded metal undercarriage oleo legs. So there may be some modifications required on this, but I somehow doubt it. It looks to me like all of the struts that were added in to get the undercarriage to go up properly will be there. So that's the project for the next few months or so after I've completed my current project. But this I discovered on the internet and thought to myself, I got to have this because I've always liked the look of the TSR2 and always wanted to build one. But since this model's not in production, you have to take your opportunities when you get them. So there we are. That's the BAC TSR2, and I shall show you the project when it's completed, and I might possibly do some intermediate short films about these, and maybe you might like to watch those, but I'll see if I can get as good a result from this as possible so that I can show it off to you at the end. Thanks very much for watching. Take care now.